Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Kahnversations. My name is Ryan Bailey. Really quick, if you do want to find out more about Leslie Kahn and Company after you listen to this podcast, please visit us at our website at www.lesliekahn.com, or you can even give us a call in the office at 323-969-9900. We are pretty much a one-stop shop for actors. We have classes. We have coaching. You can put your auditions on tape here. We even sell like these tear sticks that can help you cry in auditions. So we pretty much have everything. But today we actually have an amazing guest for this podcast. This is somebody that I was so excited to talk to, and I met her, and she was just so wonderful and such an artist, and it was so inspiring. And I hope she inspires you guys as well. Her name is Madeline Zima, and she is a powerhouse. So with these intros, I used to do the intro for the guest in front of the guest, and it sometimes, I think, made them feel a little awkward. So I did not make Madeline listen to her own intro. She already knows the work she has done, so I'm going to make you guys listen to it. But buckle in, because it is quite a career for such a young person. It just blows me away. So Madeline started as a child actor. She made her debut in the very popular film The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Then she moved on from that to a 90s sitcom, a little sitcom called The Nanny on CBS with Fran Drescher, which aired for so many seasons. She's recurred and guest starred on dozens of TV shows. You have Heroes on NBC, The Vampire Diaries, Grey's Anatomy, Royal Pains. She was a series regular on the Showtime show Californication with David Duchovny. She also just recently did I loved this show, the reboot of Twin Peaks, the David Lynch's show for Showtime. She's done film work, My Own Love Song, alongside Renee Zellweger and Forrest Whitaker, and she's a filmmaker now. Her first short film, Warm Human Magic, premiered this year at Dances with Films and was also programmed at the Female Eye Film Fest and the Madrid International Film Festival, where it was nominated for Best New Filmmaker and Best Actress. She has had such an amazing career so far, and what I think you guys will find fascinating is she's still out there striving. She's looking for the next thing, She's trying to kind of see where her artistry is taking her. This was such a great conversation for me. She was so much fun. She was just, I keep saying inspiring, but it really was inspiring. And sometimes we talk about this on this podcast, that the actor's existence can be a lonely one. So I think you guys will see a lot of yourselves in her, and I hope this kind of is a good kick in the pants to go out there and do something. If you're not getting the opportunities, create those opportunities for yourself. Without further ado, this is Madeline Zima. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
So this is great. And I talked to these guys, you guys out there driving in your car to your auditions to Santa Monica. That's taken 45 minutes, as we've talked about many times. This is going to be a fun drive to Santa Monica for you, because you pretty much, are you exhausted? Because I was exhausted reading your resume, because it just seemed like so much.
I am exhausted. By the way, the drive to Santa Monica is never fun.
No, it's horrible.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. I made this mistake a couple times last week when I had some things going on the West Side. Just plan to be on the West Side.
Yeah.
Don't try to come back at 5 o'clock.
Plan to move there, pack an overnight bag.
No, because then all your auditions will be in Hollywood.
I said some of the casting directors, if they wanted to really take it a next level, they should have it 50 feet into the ocean, their offices.
Exactly. You've got to get on a dinghy, the 3-hour tour, you never come home, you're missing.
And then you're on the 10 and you're looking around and everybody's angry. You can't get solace anywhere.
No. I like to listen to podcasts, so big ups to you.
Big ups.
But also I like to listen to Pema Chodron CDs and Buddhist
really?
talks.
Like mantras and things like that?
Not even mantras, just talks about how to deal with your own potential for getting irritated and
but
how
it's
to
constant.
handle it.
The irritation is constant, and I think Los Angeles. I know a lot of people listening to this are living in different states, and you're younger kids, and it seems like a constant battle in Los Angeles every day to kind of keep some kind of hope or spirit or spark.
That's
I mean,
correct.
that almost seems to be like almost the acting sometimes is secondary. It's like trying to keep what makes you special intact.
Yeah, you've got to do a lot of work to try to preserve your soul and do things that feed that. And that's the most important thing because, yeah, it is a constant soul grind, harder than any other part of the creative process, in my opinion. Because I've been doing it so long and I know, and I've had so many near successes. It's not really the failures that really get you. It's those times you tested for those shows that became huge successes. It's those films that you booked, but you couldn't get out of your contract to do. It's all of the
Stuff
things
that has nothing to do with art, stuff that has nothing,
No, it's the ego again. So that's where all the potential to be irritated is.
Do you still allow yourself to dream? I mean, do you still allow yourself to hope on things? I mean,
I go back and forth. I think having done it now, it'll be 31 years in September. It'll be officially 31
I think
years.
you're still early 30s. Like
I'm 32.
Yeah,
my first job I was just shy of 2 years old.
And it was a commercial, right? Like Downey or
yeah, it was the first audition my mom ever took me on. It was a total fluke. Open call. They saw 1,000 babies, and I was just the one that was having a good time. I was just there enjoying myself, which is always a good reminder with auditions is that if you can somehow try to enjoy yourself, that's the big secret. Because when I talk about auditions, and I did steal this from another acting teacher from Lee Kilton Smith, she said it's kind of like you go in and you go, hey, how's it going? And you kind of drop your pants. You kind of look around. What do you think? No, me neither. And you pull your pants back up and run out of the room embarrassed and horrified. And that's what auditioning is like, no matter how many times I've done it, no matter if I feel like there's a friendly face on the other side of the table. I mean, it's just you're putting your heart and your soul out there. And whether people can say, oh, you're not being rejected. It's the work and blah, blah, blah. But no, you're the one who drove your ass to fucking Santa Monica and you sweated yourself silly in the car and then you didn't find a parking spot. You get the parking ticket and that's your day.
Sometimes the biggest victory of an audition is finding the good parking spot.
Or
that's
not getting a parking ticket.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, exactly.
Which happened to me today on at my audition where I was literally like, I'm parking in the yellow. What am I going to do? I'll get a ticket or I'll get towed. I'm going to gamble because I was running late. I was literally like, hopefully I'm only there 10 minutes or 20 minutes and I can get back out here. And I didn't have a ticket and my car didn't get towed. So big win today.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I work here all the time and I remember.
And this is brutal for parking.
This is brutal too. Yeah, but I would leave here, make sure I was covered in the office, drive to Santa Monica, hoping, I'm not even thinking about acting. I'm thinking about how fast I can get back. I'm just out there. I'm like, let's go. I mean, how is that good for any kind of thing on the page, anything? I'm just literally, a victory is I can make it back in an hour and a half. I'm gold.
Sometimes you can channel it. And I did do that. I was running late. I was super irritated. I was super everything. It was maximum irritation. And I got into my audition, and I was literally supposed to be crying and upset and all shaky, and I threw it all into the audition, and it felt really good. It was one of those rare times where you're like, I can put this somewhere.
Yeah.
Very, very. Usually, when I feel like that, I have to go in and try to be sexy or try to do some other thing that that frustration isn't useful for
it. So. You're 2 years old, I mean, it was having fun in an audition, I would say, is the number one lesson from that, or being a baby, which most of us cannot be anymore.
It was I didn't cry.
Wait, why did your mom, you grew up in Connecticut, right?
No, I was born in Connecticut. I was born at Yale Hospital, New Haven, and then we moved when I was 2, I don't know. I was very young. We were living in Pennsylvania where all of my relatives live, my extended family, my mom. And her 6 other brothers and sisters, and so
was she an actor? Was
she studied acting in school, but she was a dancer. She owned her own dance studio, and she taught dance lessons and did a little bit of theater and Shakespeare in the Park and stuff. And but she wasn't like an actor. I think she
Yeah.
wanted to do it, and that there were some people, I think at Penn State or some teachers she saw that really crushed her dreams for that. So she
Perfect. That's what teachers are there for.
Yeah. Well, sometimes people need to find a new dream. I feel like I picked the wrong dream sometimes. I question all the time. I think it's only healthy to.
See, and that's crazy. I mean, I've talked to so many actors that it's not crazy, but I imagine it's crazy for a lot of people to hear, because for a lot of people, you're the goal. You know, a lot of people that don't know better or don't know the industry see you. I mean, I know the girls in the office were like, it's the girl from a Cinderella story.
Right.
It's the girl, you know, like they're like, oh my God, it's huge,
Right.
you know, and it's not sometimes the reality of your situation.
Right. Because I think one of the things that attracts us to being actors is that we're kind of interested in a lot of different vocations and a little bit bored with things quickly. So we want to explore what it's like to be, for me recently, I was literally trying to become a librarian. I was. And for some reason, I had misinterpreted what my friend had said about the university there. And he's like, no, they're not actually looking. And I was like, oh. I thought, because I've been telling people last week.
Do you know anybody in the library department? Yeah.
I've been telling people last week I might become a librarian. And the idea was so exciting because, you know, I want to know what it feels like to be a cop, to be a teacher, to be, well, not really a teacher because I don't know if I have the patience for it, but to dance, to
do it all.
To do it all
way,
and you get it, hopefully a shot at doing those things without, you know, you get to live a lot of little lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny how I'm still into, it's almost like putting the grease paint on, putting the makeup on, the outfit on. Like, I was like, I'm not getting opportunities lately. You know what? I'll grow a beard. That'll make me feel good. Like, that'll be something different.
It looks good. Do you like it?
It's different. I've never grown it this long. It's like starting to get a little Castaway-ish or, you know. I mean, and I didn't realize the last time I'd grown hair, it wasn't like gray whites, so it's a little shocking, but you know, I mean, it's fun. It's like make believe. It's kind of weird make believe. Anyways, so you don't remember anything of that commercial? You do?
The commercial, no, not really. I mean, I do remember like vaguely the room and just like enjoying myself and really being aware that it was playtime. And I had a very active imagination. I would play my Barbies for 6-7 hours on end. I never wanted to stop playing Barbies when I was little. And it was just another form of make-believe, you know, for me.
Was it, I mean, it was good enough and you probably did well enough that your mom wanted you to keep going or you wanted to keep going or...
I mean, I was 28 months, so I don't know if I had conscious.
Yeah, I had talked to my people.
I had talked to my inner child. No, it was just a happy accident. I mean, it's like, I don't know if you've seen the masterclass of Dustin Hoffman when he talks about, it's so good. I love the masterclasses. He talks about The Graduate being a freak accident.
He wasn't a star. He wasn't anybody.
No,
they were looking everywhere. Yeah.
He was a talented theater actor. And if he was a woman, it wouldn't have happened. That's all I can say. I know that for a fact. If he was a less than movie star attractive female in the same position, that she would not have gotten the role. But he just got lucky on top of the fact he had the talent and that Mike Nichols was committed to casting him, just like the same kind of resistance happened for Pacino with The Godfather. They wanted.
Yeah, I mean, he was a Broadway actor, and I think The Indian Takes the Bronx, this play at the time, and he was blowing people away in theater, but couldn't. You know, why are they going to give him a major motion picture?
Yeah.
So you got. I mean. So then you were probably going out on auditions. You probably don't remember that, you know, but, you know.
I do remember some auditions. There was one audition that was incredibly embarrassing. I mean, I've done everything you can do wrong in an audition, including piss myself when I was very young. So I do kind of remember accidentally peeing myself in an audition room. And then they called my mom in to take me out of the room.
That's an automatic callback. Yeah.
That's an automatic not callback. So, I mean, I had gone into.
That's brave, folks.
That's bravery.
Brave.
That's brave. I had gone into Wendy O'Brien's office last week for something, and I was like, I've been doing this for 30 years, coming into rooms like this and being rejected. What am I doing with my life?
Wait, did you say that out loud?
I said it out loud.
Oh, they
I
must
have no filter. I mean, I think it's just again a function of learning to drop certain social constructs. Like I've learned to drop.
Pretending everything's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really pretend everything about anything. So if like in a relationship, if I'm upset, my boyfriend will know. Like it's like there's no hiding any of my. It's all very, very apparent. It's all over my face and my energy. Even if I'm trying to hide it, I can't. So it's good for acting, bad for real life, bad for selling yourself. And you're supposed to be like, I'm smooth and everything's great. Watch out, guys! The most competent actor ever. No, I'm not good at that.
So the thing I wanted to talk to you about being a child actor is that, you know, when we were in acting classes in our 20s and our 30s and even our 40s, you know, our acting teachers are like, you know, well, you got to try to remember back when you were a child, when imagination was encouraged, when you were playing, you know, princess, prince, cowboys, Indians, all those things with your neighbors. You got to go back to that spot. But you actually were being able to do make-believe on a professional scale as a kid. I mean, did that imagination just keep growing, or did the industry sort of beat it out of you and you had to learn to get it back? I know that's a complicated question.
I love this question. I've talked about this. I think a lot more of my instincts are still intact than had to be uncovered, if that makes sense. Like that I've carried through a lot of the same natural process that happens when you're young through till a certain point. But then it ebbs and flows like with everything, you know. It's not like you're a touring musician and you can just all of a sudden, you know, have all your skills and then go and not play any music for a year and then think you're going to be great again. You have to refine things. And just like with any kind of sensory work or any kind of memory stuff that you use as material, you know, it's like after a while, those touchstones and those triggers get dull. So you have to find new things all the time that work. Like obviously somebody taking my Barbies away when I was little, being a way to cry doesn't totally affect me the same way now. So you just have to kind of, you have to evolve as you change as a human being, and you have to evolve your process as well. You can't use the same stuff that worked. Like the person I was in love with 5 years ago or however long ago that was, I can't use their name and their face and their smell.
Because it doesn't mean as much.
Because I've ground it out of myself. Yeah. Stop loving that person. Damn it. That person doesn't love you back, Madeline.
I mean, but... You as a kid, you don't even have a process. Like, you haven't developed. You don't even know. I mean, I don't imagine you were like, I know Meisner, I know Stanislavski, no. I know Uta Hagen. Like, when did that stuff start coming into play for you of like, oh, there's a whole art behind this. There are people that teach methods. There are people. So yeah, when I was a kid, I just, you say, oh, your mommy's leaving. And you start crying. You literally just go there. There's not this barrier between what's going on potentially and how you feel in the moment. There's no filter.
You're like a sponge. You see everything. You're absorbing everything. And you can also feel the pressure of somebody wanting you to cry and just cry. You know what I mean? Like all those things are very available. When I was in my early 20s, I went to my very first acting class, which was with Caitlin Adams, who was great. She did some version of just like sensory work, which I think is actually also, I think it's Stanislavski method actually. But just like morning cup and like sensing and feeling. And I started to discover a new technique that was cool because I felt like I was doing something as opposed to kind of just, I felt like I was giving my brain something to kind of occupy itself so that I could just do what I already had been doing all along. If that makes sense. It's usually just like something for something for the monkey mind to play with. Yeah, it can be anything.
Leslie said something about you that I found very interesting, and she was like, I loved her so much because you would give her a suggestion or a redirect, and she took it as like, "Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Let me
Yes.
do this." You know,
Yeah.
instead of a lot of people, you give a redirect and there's an automatic barrier, like, "What, did I not do it right? Did I not?" You know, and you were kind of like, "Oh yes, please give me, and it's a much different. That's such a different, like, that acceptance is so cool for an actor to have.
Well, I feel like most actors just really desperately need just a little bit of guidance and are
Yeah.
really wanting direction, because then they go, oh, and it unlocks something in themselves they can't quite get on their own. It's not like painting. It's not a solitary art form. You need other people. You need to commune. You need to get a fresh perspective from somebody else. Otherwise, it doesn't grow. And she was so great with giving me a few different really specific and wonderful directions that I was so happy for. I mean, that's how I am in general. But she especially was very good at communicating certain things that are helpful for a scene that immediately make you shift without having to think about it too much. I think the thinking mind, is the one that thinks it's running the show, but it like Joseph Campbell said, it's a secondary organ. The heart, the body, the reproductive system, the nervous system, all the rest of this stuff is really vitally important to being present with yourself. And the more you can get in touch with that and let the mind be occupied with pretending to be a cat or some other shit, then you can get surprised. I mean, the best thing in the world is when you're in a scene and something happens where you hear it different than you've ever heard it before, and you go, oh shit, that's exactly like this moment in my life. And it unlocks that moment in your life, and it's like, oh my God. It's like you're literally like a house, and there are different rooms, people with a key. It's just got to be the right key of communication. It can unlock a room inside you, and you go, holy shit.
Yeah.
There hasn't been breath in that room in a long time.
It's like practical magic. It's this kind of amazing feeling. And that's why, those mistakes, or not even mistakes, but, when somebody gives you something differently and you're able to hear it and take it in like an actual person, it is kind of this amazing thing. And you're not locked into some decision that you've made for this person that you're trying to portray.
Which may be right intellectually.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But it might not have any juice in it.
Yeah.
It might not have any life in it, really, Well,
I always think about math and science, and especially with math, there most of the time is an absolute. This is the answer. Mm-hmm. You cannot argue that. And with acting, that's very different, because we could say the same lines, and we can do it completely different, and we can make people feel completely different things, even with the tone of our voice. And I always think that's like the most incredible thing about what we've chosen to do, is that you have the potential to like make somebody feel something. I mean, I guess math could do that in a way. There's certain mathematicians find it beautiful. I don't know. But anyways, so you did like 145 episodes of The Nanny, right?
I'm sure it was around that.
There was no like thing. Anyways, so do you remember that audition process at all?
I do remember that pretty vividly.
And how old were you when that started?
6.
So you were a grizzled veteran at that point.
I had done
in the business.
The Hand That Rocks the Cradle at 5.
Which was a huge movie.
Yeah.
I don't even, do you even know like the impact of like when you were a kid? Like that was a huge, huge thriller.
That one made my, I got another job right after that. It was sort of like it was a breakout moment. It's not like I feel like if that had happened nowadays, like I would have had like a lot easier time. Like if you're in a thriller and you're the kid in the thriller and they go, that kid is pretty good, then that kid never has to audition again. Kind of like Dakota Fanning, where she like never had to audition again when she was in like the one, I forget the name of it, but the J.J. Abrams movie. Like she never really had to audition again. You know? She was just like, okay, you've gone past the gatekeepers, and now everything's easy on that other side. Yeah, you had
like Kirsten Dunst, Thora Birch.
Right,
like,
yeah. There are certain, exactly, like Interview with a Vampire, same thing, which I auditioned for, but obviously didn't get. But like literally just like it made it a little easier. Sorry. I didn't want to clear my throat into the mic. But it made it a little easier, but it still was not like, I was still auditioning. I was never like, oh my God, it wasn't like this giant break, really. It was a little helpful. I got Mr. Nanny right after that.
Which, by the way, Hulk Hogan, you guys, I don't know. I mean, that's the Hulkster. Yeah, I mean, it is crazy.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, please.
What I remember about before I said yes to the Hulk Hogan movie was that there was some scandal about Hulk Hogan taking drugs. And I was 6 years old, and I was very judgmental. And I was like, this big old wrestler guy definitely is like a drug addict.
He's going to push drugs on me.
And am I going to get involved in drugs by doing this movie? I was literally 6 years old thinking this. But just so you know, like, he was one of the nicest people I've ever worked with. He had like a Make-A-Wish kid on set all the time. His real name is Terry. I mean, how scary can a guy named Terry be?
Yeah.
It must be a good person. So he was lovely. I got to, semi be friends with his kids when we were all little, and it was a very lovely. Everybody was very kind on that set.
I used to run a nightclub, and they shot like Hogan, I think they had a reality show called Hogan Knows Best, and they were doing like a birthday party for Brooke at my nightclub, and they had like a male stripper come, and it was very fascinating because I grew up with Hulk Hogan, and he was super nice, but when the camera's on, he had to act like he was all judgmental about, hey brother, what are you doing stripping for my daughter, brother? And it was very fascinating to watch your childhood in front of your eyes, and you're just like, oh my God. But so wait, you said yes to that movie. You had the choice to, your parents would be like, do you want to do this or do you want to do this?
Well, I auditioned for it, and I was like, I think we had gotten the offer, so I was like, in my mind I had a choice, but I think I was like doing the movie. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's not like I was like, picking and choosing.
Well, I didn't know if there was just like, I have the nanny.
Sorry, Mr. Nanny. I really want to do the vampire, movie.
I turned
Interview
down
with the vampire. I'd much rather kiss Brad Pitt at 11 years old. Different time frames, totally different years and everything. Anyway.
But so the nanny comes around. I mean, is there anything that stands out to you? I mean, as a kid, when you're now auditioning time and time again, was there tricks that you remember? Or like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to like razzle dazzle them with this. Were you that like confident in things, or was it still moment to moment?
You come in with a plan, and I remember that I was very. I remember meeting Fran. I remember her voice, and I was like, she's got a really weird voice. This doesn't seem like this show's going to go. Like, even as a kid, I was like, this is not going to work. And
One and done, Fran.
And I did something in the room where I kind of like, I did some kind of like, I would say, kind of a trick or a kitschy thing where I went, like, I put my hand on my face on my hand, kind of like oh, brother, that kind of
That's
a move.
such a kid thing.
Yeah, it was such a 90s kid thing, and it was very hokey, I would say. It was a bit of schmacting, or a little hackting trick, but I did that, and I don't know why I did it, because it wasn't a plan that me and my mom had come up with. I did it, and I was like, it felt right in the moment, and I ended up, getting the job, but I told my mom about it, and she was upset. She was like, that is not what we planned.
You go back in there, and you apologize for that hand on your face.
No. We know just to move right along. You can't go back in and be like, excuse me, can I have another shot at that? You get escorted away by security. Someone take this 6-year-old away. Crazy.
How many seasons was that? Was that 6 or 7?
6 seasons.
6 seasons. When you start growing up on a sitcom, which, by the way, that was a very successful sitcom. I don't know if you guys, like, it's on syndication still. Fran Drescher, like, hysterically unique. What do you learn? Do you remember learning anything over the 6 years?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's like a master class in sitcom acting, which is very specific. And also a master class in some form of like doing a play every single week.
Because it was multicam.
It was multicam, and we had a live audience all the way up until I think like the 4th or 5th season. At one point, they cut the live audience, which I know a lot of the cast and myself was sort of bummed about, because Friday nights were with a live audience was this incredible,
it feeds you.
high. Yeah, it was. There's nothing like being in front of a live audience. It's like skydiving and hoping your parachute opens every time.
Do you ever have nerves? Do you have nerves?
Yeah, all the time. I have nerves. I have nerves with like 2 people in a room. I get nervous all the time.
Really?
I'm always
nervous. As a kid, were you nervous, or did you learn to get nervous?
I think that I was less nervous as a kid because I had a lot more confidence. I was working a lot more. Also, not to be like scarcity, whatever. It was like I would audition for 5 things in a day back in the 90s. It was so different than it is now. And even my most successful friends are lucky if they get an audition a week, sometimes only once a month. Like things are really, all
Dry.
Really dry.
Yeah.
So that's so for all you actors out there, that's
so
normal.
stay away, everybody. Everything's been filled.
No. Do what makes you happy. Life is short, and it doesn't matter if you're chasing the dream or if you get your dream come true. It really doesn't matter. It's in the moments where you get to where you go into a room or a space or whatever, and you beat yourself, meaning that that little voice inside you that makes you feel small, that says you can't do it, you overcome it, and you win the room, and you feel amazing. And it's really about that moment, because you can get that and still not get the job.
Oh, yeah.
And that's happened to me a lot. I've actually had casting people send me apology emails, which is cool. I wish I could pay my bills with all these compliments I've gotten.
Yeah. American Express didn't take your letter this year.
Yeah. But it's really about you versus the music. And then do you get to rise above that little voice that says you can't do it within? Do you get to feel like you've conquered all your own inner junk for 1 minute? That's
yes,
everything.
The moment when everything is silent in your head and you're just purely doing.
Yes.
Because the rest of it is just a constant feedback loop in your head. And I've heard my voice now for so many years. I'm so tired of my voice.
Yeah.
That sometimes when you just hear that silence and you're just really in that moment. And I don't mean you realize at the moment you're like, oh yeah, I'm in this moment. But afterwards, when you realize that feedback loop wasn't happening in my mind, it's that kind of beautiful thing. And that's when you realize, oh, I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
No matter if I'm not successful or, whatever you deem successful, it doesn't matter, because at this point I can't, I'm not going to be good, doing something else.
Right. It's that not quite like the Neo moment where you pluck the bullet out of the sky.
Yeah.
But it's you forgetting yourself. It's the freedom of forgetting yourself and getting free of your ego for that minute or two, or maybe it's 4 minutes where you're just doing and you're totally feeling free in your creativity, and it's amazing. And then you don't realize until afterwards, and you can't kind of plan it. Sometimes it's just it's this amazing story. I feel I forget who told it. I've been watching a lot of master classes recently. I don't know if it was the Kevin Spacey one, which is contraband now.
We'll edit this part out, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if it was the Dustin Hoffman one, but Laurence Olivier did this thing. He did this, I forget which Shakespearean play it was, where it was just apparently magnificent. Like people from the other cast members were watching from the sidelines and calling their friends, come down and see, Olivier. He's he's doing something that's transcendent. Come watch. And he finishes the play, and there's a standing ovation, and then another standing ovation. And as soon as he's done, he screams and he runs off into his dressing room, and he trashes the dressing room, and he's just furious and upset, and everybody leaves. Everybody who's waiting to see him and give him more flowers, everybody leaves. And eventually this one person gets to talk to him and opens the door, and he's like, Larry, it was amazing. Why are you so upset? It was the best thing we have ever seen in the world. And he goes, yeah, but I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
And for the people who have lost themselves in something, they go, well, yeah, I know, I get that.
Yeah.
You can be as trained as humanly possible, and then sometimes another thing happens, and it's you wish you could figure out what the formula is, but I don't know if there is one except for just being there in the right moment.
And you have to every day get right back up and try to be there again.
Yeah. Fall down.
It's that Simon and Garfunkel song, The Boxer, And so you do this 6 seasons. You're learning quite a bit. This ends.
While I'm on it, I book one of the biggest films of all time. I booked The Parent Trap. which nobody knows. I've never even
Oh,
spoken about.
the Dennis Quaid, Lindsay Lohan.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. I booked that, and I was not allowed out of my contract for the 2 weeks that it was to do it. And it was very upsetting. It soured my experience a lot. Plus the stuff on the nanny that I was supposedly so important for, the storyline that was like Gracie is like indispensable to the storyline. I literally had one line, which was hat, and that was ended up getting cut out. And it was literally like I had tried to call people, high up people on the show who wouldn't even take my calls. It was really a devastating thing because I was like, I finally got that thing. Like I finally had that moment where I was like, this will be the thing that will help me out, and I can then have like do whatever I want. Plus, I'd been working on my like British accent, like I had it all. It was a really. And
they wanted you.
No,
yeah,
I literally booked.
They
were in negotiations with the nanny. And I wasn't allowed out of the contract for the 2 weeks.
I mean, that's got to be, to let go of that anger has to be insane because, this is your home, this is your family, and they're not letting you go and do, and you're young. Like, you hear about this all the time with, like, older actors, them not being let out of contracts to go do James Bond or something like that. But that's insane.
It was a defining moment in my life for sure. And I had booked another movie. I'd booked a film called Yuli's Gold while I was on The Nanny and was not allowed out to do it. But Dorothy,
was that
Lyman.
Henry Fonda?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dorothy Lyman had suggested, God bless her soul, and I love Dorothy Lyman, one of the first female directors I worked with, along with Lee. Oh, God, what was Lee's last name? Oh, I can't remember. Lee Sheridan, I think. Anyway, wonderful female directors, the first people I worked with that were females as directors and inspirations to me for sure. She suggested that my younger sister play the role. So my sister Vanessa got to do Yuli's Gold and work with Peter Fonda, and it was Jessica Biel's first film. And I'm forever grateful to the people who, if I couldn't get to do the job that my sister got to, and that
which,
was
by the way, in the film you just directed your sisters in as well, correct?
Different sister, but
different. Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's. You're what are you 11, 12 at this time? Like
I was 11. I was 11 or 10 or 11 when the Parent Trap thing happened, and I had grown up watching the Haley Mills version. So I was
my parents showed me that.
I loved it. So I was already like. Yeah, like it wasn't like something that someone had to tell me about. I was already like, I knew it. I knew the story, and so
you were excited.
I was so jazzed. It was like as though my favorite book had been like made into a film, and I booked it. You know what I mean? Anyway, so
but how do you then walk around that set and give anything? Like, how do you walk around that set? And then when you get that one line, how are you not even at 10 or 11? Like, hey, fuck you! Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
I was pissed. It was, and nobody knows about this. It's like, I never went out, like, kind of publicly talking about it because nobody really cares. When you're the one who didn't get the job, and then you just sound like a bitter asshole. But, like, it's like, but you do earn certain bitter points depending on which things happen.
Yeah.
It was definitely a bummer, and I was definitely not happy with the way that they handled the situation. But anyway, there was lots of wonderful people on the show. I did learn so much. I learned how not to be, and I learned how to be and how to treat people from that show. It was an incredible teacher. It's just like there are certain things in the Buddhist tradition where it's like, you don't learn everything with like sunshine, roses, and butterflies. Sometimes darkness or anger or some of the lower energies, they help delineate the hero from the villain, and you get to rise to the occasion.
Which is very Joseph Campbell as well.
Yes, it is. I'm watching a lot of Joseph Campbell stuff right now as well. So I'm grateful for The Nanny. I'm grateful for all that it taught me. And I was also grateful just to get jobs afterwards, because when you're a sitcom kid in the 90s, or at least in my experience, unless you're Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is like one of the only ones who transitioned kind of seamlessly. And I think it wasn't probably they wouldn't touch me. I couldn't get a job for years and years and years, and I was auditioning.
So that's what I was going to ask. When that ended, did your mom say something like, "Hey, do you want to keep doing this, or do you want to just chill out for a while?" Or was it even a question like, "Yeah, we're keeping this going"?
One of the things I got to do on one of my hiatuses, or right when the nanny was ending, was a film called The Sandy Bottom Orchestra. It was based on a Garrison Keillor novel.
Oh, who did Prairie Home Companion, you guys, and
Yeah.
you should know him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to work with the late great Glenn Headley, God rest her soul.
God. Dick Tracy, so good.
Yeah, so amazing. And also Tom Irwin, who was the dad in My So-Called Life.
Yeah, he'd been in
They were at Steppenwolf.
He was Steppenwolf,
together.
yeah. Leslie's worked with Tom, yeah.
Yeah, so he's amazing. And they knew each other from back in like the college days or whatever. So I got to work with them. I think I was 13 or 14, not quite sure. Maybe I was only 12. Between 12 and 13, I worked with them. And that changed me forever, because that was the first time I decided that I actually wanted to be an actor, like consciously.
Yeah, because there is eventually a decision that needs to be made, you know?
Yeah, that was when I was treated different on that set than I'd ever been treated before. I was always treated fine, whatever, certain examples, less so than others. But on that set, I was treated like an equal. I was talked to without any condescension. People were kind
great
to me.
job, yeah.
Or do you understand that? Do you understand that? If we hire your friend and he does a bad job, he's going to get fired.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not even. God. I wish I was making that up. But anyway, that was the first time that I was like, oh, this can be a community of artists giving and receiving from each other, and it's an even exchange, and it's beautiful. And I was transformed by that experience, because before that I was like, I'm going to grow up and probably I did little doodles. I've always been kind of good at drawing, so I was maybe going to try to work at The Simpsons as one of the animators, like when I was little. Like I was like 11, 12, like The Simpsons is obviously amazing, so I want to work for them. And then I didn't continue with that, because I decided, I want to invest everything I have in this. In acting, and what now I understand as acting, which is like something a little different than what it had been in the past.
It is interesting you said, that kind of, I don't know if communal experience is the right word, but when you're acting opposite somebody or a group of people, it is this it can be this beautiful thing, but, like doodling or drawing or writing is such a solitary art, it's very lonely at times, and that's why acting, when done right around other people, if you open yourself up to it, it can be this really beautiful, enriching experience that, makes up for your lack of 401k or anything like that. So you started, you made a choice, and then you're hitting the pavement. You say you have a couple of dry years, right?
Yeah. I think, and I had tested for, the Gilmore Girls.
Which you actually did a guest spot on.
Which I ended up doing a guest spot of, which was so, it was a rough one. I had just signed up for, community college at that point. I don't know if I was...
In L.A. or...
in Valencia, where I lived. I went to College of the Canyons for a semester that I basically flunked out of. But I was trying, man. I was trying.
This isn't for me, everybody.
Man, I am not a good student. But yeah, I had auditioned, and they were super nice. Amy Sherman Palladino was like, I remember you. And she was just like...
And her writing is a very different style of writing. Yeah. And by the way, that's got to be interesting for you to be able to see and kind of... We talk a lot about that at Leslie's, reading the script, finding out what genre you're in and stuff. But you've had to actually have practical experience in every genre. I think your first job was at Law and Order. You did... Mm-hmm. You've done you've done multicam, single cam, hour-long film, short... you've seen every kind of thing. When you read things now, are you just like, do you allow things to wash over you anymore? Or is it just like, I know what this is?
It really depends, because each script is so different, and then certain scripts you're like, okay, this is a procedural. It's like this. You have to speak as fast as possible. If you get everything out without breathing, you get extra points.
Information out.
Yeah, if you get all that exposition out as quick as possible, extra points. And then there are certain things that are genre bending now that you have to figure it out for yourself, because as you know, there's less and less clear delineation between a dramedy and a comma.
No, it's like
or
all
a comedy. You know, a dramedy and a comma.
A comedy, we get it. Yeah.
And then, you know, an exclamation point. Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, but it is like this with like Netflix and all of this is like, it is this weird bouillabaisse right now of it has everything. Or like I was looking at a multicam, or like was it a single cam the other day, but it was 58 pages, and I was like, this should only be 33 pages. What's going on? Like, because we've learned to like have these delineations in genre, and everything's kind of even changing just formatting wise.
But the thing is you can get lost in it now. And a lot of things like that you'll see that, you know, there's 5 different actors in a show or something, and you're like, everyone's in a different movie because somebody thinks this is a comedy, somebody thinks this is a drama, somebody thinks this is a straight up horror film. Like literally, it's unless and I blame directors for that, because the directors aren't giving that gentle guidance to an actor that they so desperately need. Because a lot of times, directors are too scared to talk to the actors.
You'll show up to set a lot, and they expect you to
know everything.
Yeah. I mean, film, I think, is a little different, but TV is definitely like, okay, we put the camera on you, go.
Yeah.
And, you know, very often, you don't get a lot of redirection a lot, you know?
You'll be lucky if you get any, but for the directors that are really fabulous, like Michael Lehman, who I've worked with on 2 TV shows, really
Heather's
care.
Michael Lehman?
Yes, that's right. Heather's
genius.
Michael Lehman. I got to work with him on an Amazon show called Betas that was short-lived, sadly, because it was one of my favorite, you know, acting
and you did like 12 episodes of that, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, I was a recurrent. I was only supposed to do 2 or 3 episodes, and they had me on for 6. And I was like, yeah, winning. And I got to do it in the place where The Nanny was filmed. So like 20 years later, I was filming back at Culver Studios again, and it was crazy. It was fucking crazy. I don't know if you've gone back to an old house or an old schoolyard of
of course.
It feels like a past
everything.
Life.
Yeah, you feel like a giant. You feel like you know.
I felt taller. I couldn't believe how small my dressing. I literally walked down that hall. I couldn't believe how small the dressing room was, and even the soundstage. I'm like, this soundstage is actually really small.
You start to like almost mistrust your memory. You're like, our memories can be like, this is not how I remember it.
Yeah.
Like the memories can change. So you did Betas, and I think that was right around the time you did Heroes too, right? Or
no, Heroes was a couple of years
before.
Earlier.
Yeah,
before. It was like 2000.
Wait, Betas was what year?
2013.
But see,
14.
it's so if Betas was out now, it probably would have gotten way more of a shot.
100%.
You know, and because you said it was Amazon, right? Or
Amazon. It was Amazon's first or second show. It was Alpha House and Betas, Alpha Beta. It was like literally their first 2 shows, scripted shows. And Betas came out, unfortunately, the same year as Silicon Valley. So it didn't have a shot. They're like, Silicon Valley is going to kill us. Yeah. It's HBO. So, and my friend Amanda is on Silicon Valley. She's lovely and wonderful. It's a great show. But they did not give Betas a shot whatsoever.
You were talking about, just the amount of opportunity, not in actual jobs, but when you actually get a job in TV, now TV is kind of the thing, because it's almost like these novels that are being painted over 12 episode arcs or something. It's kind of this beautiful thing that almost movies are having a hard time even keeping up with. Did you see Sorry to Bother You yet?
Not yet.
Oh, you definitely need to see it. I think you would love it. But I was just watching, do you watch Baskets?
No.
Oh my God, you got to watch. I started it this weekend. It's been out for a couple years, but I watched 20 episodes because it was so inspiring, and it was like this amazing, beautiful, weird family. Anyways, I just think that's such an interesting point about how things are changing so much, and you kind of have to ride that wave of where things are taking you.
It's been changing for a couple years. I remember I don't even know, whenever Damages came out, and I was like, Glenn Close is doing a TV show? It was kind of unheard
it was
of.
Weird, yeah.
And it was an FX show, and I was like, what?
Has she given up?
Yeah. No, it's like, what? She doesn't need to. What I was thinking was like, she doesn't need to take this away from somebody who really needs that job.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless you, Glenn Close.
I was like, is she desperate? Why she doesn't? I thought she was a movie actor. Like, you really thought back then that movie actors are supposed to stay in movies.
Yeah, and then James Franco came and then did like a soap opera and just ruined everything for everybody.
Yeah, way to go, performance art. Franco.
Yeah. But I was like, oh shit, like, times is getting tough, and the squeeze is happening. So it was really a weird a weird thing, but it's been changing for a while, and now definitely the golden era of television, as people are calling it these days, is taking over, and it's definitely beating out films. And I think what the problem is what what they're making. You know what I mean? The TV shows are making relevant content that is really well thought out, really well written, and well structured, and cast properly. You know what I mean? They're taking the time to cast people who are fabulous actors for these roles, like Elizabeth Moss in The Handmaid's Tale, and Alexis Bledel in The Handmaid's Tale. That's my favorite thing I've ever seen her in. She was incredible in that. And Ann Dowd, who I got to work with before as well, casting actual people who are right for the roles, whereas films don't do that. Films have been degrading themselves for a while, just doing that same old hero's journey and over and over and over again, and thinking the audience is never going to get sick of this, but it is. Everyone's sick of it. It's been sick of it for a long time. I guess they're saving it in China. You know, they're still selling it to China, but it's not. But our
audiences are so smart now. Like, I mean, you almost have to give credit of like, it's so amazing. Like I was just thinking about that the other day of just like audiences pick up so much. You don't have to show as much because audiences will fill in that backstory for you. You know, like they're not dumb. You don't have to treat them like they're dumb. And you can really speed up your storytelling or make these giant leaps because if you trust your audience, then you can tell so much more of a deep, richer story.
That's the thing. It's one of the things that Kevin Spacey, who doesn't exist anymore, apparently.
Mevin Macy, yes.
That he says, give them only 50%. If you're doing a good job, they'll want to fill in the rest. They'll want to fill in the other 50%. They'll want to lean into your performance. But it's sad that features, except for the few that are, I mean, there aren't any really independent films anymore, but except for the few that are like kind of put together, they're like cast off a list of 5 names, and then there's a secondary list of 5 names, and those people don't have to audition. Every once in a while, maybe they'll put themselves on tape, but 9 times out of 10, none of those people who get the job are right for the role / actually good actors anymore because they haven't had to reinvent themselves as artists, you know? That's why it was so nice to see somebody like Michael Keaton get another
Come
chance.
back, yeah.
Get another chance to show where his artistry's at now.
And it's so much richer. I mean, and I loved it. I mean, there was a time like it was him and Tom Hanks coming up when I was a kid. Like they were both doing like, it was like Mr. Mom for Michael Keaton, and Tom Hanks had like, you know, Money Pit and Big and all these things. And then all of a sudden they took this weird split because Michael Keaton had Batman, but then he like started like did Clean and Sober and all these kind of like independent films, and he kind of fell off. Whereas like Tom Hanks shot up, and I always compared it to like U2 and REM. Like REM kind of went this way, U2 went like I want to do stadiums. I'm babbling, but my whole thing was, I was so disappointed when he kind of went away, or when I saw him like start taking like 8th or 9th billing on things. And then when he came back, I mean, it was just, what was the film that he came back on?
Birdman.
Birdman, yes. And then, did you even see The Founder? Where
no,
he played
I haven't
Roycroft?
yet, but I will.
So good. Like, it's amazing.
He's amazing.
Like,
I got to meet him one time because an ex of mine was good friends with his son. Sweet, really nice people, good people. It takes a director like Inarritu to say, no, this is who I want for it. He's perfect for this reason, because I guarantee you there was a lot of people going, no, not him, somebody younger, somebody
we can't sell that overseas.
He's not fuckable enough. I mean, like the stuff that people say that breaks down the creative process it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, and I was just so happy to see him get to show all of his colors now, because he is so much more rich for it. His experience and him having to go back to the drawing board has given him so much.
You can tell he's like challenging himself.
Yes,
you know? And like sometimes that's what we do. We're like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then to have somebody believe in you to be like, okay, let me take this on, and then they conquer. And it's really you're totally right. It's so beautiful. I know I have to speed this up because I don't want to keep you here all day.
This is honestly the highlight of my day.
Yeah,
so.
that's perfect. You did Californication for a bunch. What did you learn on that? Because if you know, how many episodes of that did you do?
I did the first 2 seasons as a series regular. They brought me back for 1 episode in the 3rd, and then 3 or 4 maybe 6 episodes in the 4th season. Not sure how many that is. I'm not good at math. But
you guys at home, if you could get back to me with the number, that'd be great.
It's on IMDb, I'm sure.
What's it like being a kid and doing 6 seasons of something and then being an adult and doing a similar thing? I mean, I don't know, it's single and multi, but what's that like to have like a regular job at this point in your life and this point in your life?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I still felt so much like I was like a kid in that I was 21 years old and I still felt really much, I felt a lot like I had this chip on my shoulder and I wasn't,
Were you a jerk?
What?
Were you a jerk? Were you say a chip on your shoulder?
No, I wasn't an asshole or anything
okay.
like that. I was worried that I was screwing up all the time, performance wise, and I was really hard on myself with it, and also I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel necessarily like I could take certain risks. I felt it was sort of like a paint by numbers a little bit kind of thing. Every once in a while, I feel like I could throw something out there and maybe it would work, but I didn't really feel like I could like I was one of the big kids. I still felt like I was at the kids' table and that I really want to be at the adult table, but I wasn't quite there yet. I know it was a strange experience because it was the first time I was on a show again as a regular since The Nanny, really, I think. Like I had tested for things, but I hadn't gotten anything, and it felt amazing. I mean, I thought this writing was great. I was so happy just to be there. Duchovny was really gracious, and he could tell I was nervous in the pilot, and he came up to me and he was like, just breathe, and that was really helpful. That's like when people tell me to do that, then I end up like, what, am I breathing wrong? Do I need to breathe? Oh, no, totally.
Do I need to breathe better? Like,
That's
I'm fucking the breathing up. Yeah,
totally. That was the first thing that came up was like, oh fuck, I'm doing a shit job.
The company hates my breathing.
He hates me, and I'm gonna get fired. And I kind of felt that way the whole time. But not that he hated me, but that I was like, I am gonna get fired off the show. But the other actresses were fabulous, like Natasha McElhone and Pam Adlon.
That's Leslie's best friend is Pammy. Yeah,
oh,
she's
really?
here all. Yeah, I mean
I haven't seen her in years.
I mean, since they were teenagers,
yeah. No, Pam Adlon. So I worked with Pam when I was a teenager. I did like one episode of like a voice on King of the Hill.
Yeah.
And it was the one that no doubt was the guest star. So I was in the same room as Gwen Stefani, and I remember because I was only 14, and I was still in school, and I had my little Latin book, and I was trying to prove that I was like cool enough to not be like all over Gwen Stefani, and I was like literally reading my Latin book upside down in front of her, and then realized like I got it. Oh shit! I totally did not impress her with that. But I remembered Pam being because she was a child actor. I remember her being so kind to me, generous to a fault. So when I got to work with her again on Californication, I was like, she's amazing. Yeah. She's one of the few people who's like a real human being.
And she fought to get there. I mean,
dude,
like, look at her now.
It's like, nail. But good for her. She's one of the funnest people you get to work with. I hope I get to work with her again because she is just a blast. Pammy is. I love her, and her daughters are fabulous. Yeah. I remember she had 3 girls, and I'm the oldest of 3 sisters, and I always felt connected to them, and I'm happy. I'm happy for all.
I believe they're acting now too. Actually.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing good.
Gideon was in Blockers, although I haven't seen it. I'm sure she's great. But I love Pam Adlon. She was so fun to work with. It was a real education just to watch her light up. Like she's radiant.
I remember as a kid watching her be a kid in like Grease 2.
Yes.
I mean, it was just like, and then I remember her as the Lloyd Dobler's friend in Say Anything. And you're, like, it's interesting to watch somebody, and the same as you, watch somebody grow up, and you have these benchmarks, of like, oh, this is this person at this age, and you get to watch. And that's why, like, Leslie also said this, was that, like, the thing, I don't know if this is an overshare, but the thing with you is she was just like, not to me, but we need to keep her happy because she is going to work big. So now it's just about getting past these valleys, because it's there. And I think when you find that one thing, audiences are already so willing to accept you because a lot of people have grown up with you and they might not be able to place it. But
most people can't.
Those faces stay with us in our hearts and stuff like that, in our minds. And I think,
like a Sid Caesar. I've been around forever.
Hey, kid. You said you felt like you were still at the kids' table in Californication. When's the first time you felt like you were in the adults?
The first time I felt like I was at the adults' table was when I was on that one movie with Tom Irwin and Glenn Headley.
Oh, 13,
but
yes.
When I was 13, ironically enough. But then again, as an adult, when I did this film called Crazy Eyes with Lucas Haas, which went to South by Southwest, it went to London BFI Film Festival. I won an award in Madrid at the Madrid International Film Festival. It's the first time I ever won an award for my acting, and I felt total creative freedom, and I felt totally like a collaborator. I was given homework to do, and I got to do that homework. Like, I got to watch all the Cassavetes movies, and was so inspired by Jenna Rollins. Is it Gina or is it Jenna?
I think it's Jenna,
but it's with
I'm
a G.
so bad with pronunciations.
I think it's Jenna too. All I know is that I fell in love with her. And
yeah, Gloria. I mean, guys, if you want to, I mean, it's always important as actors to do homework and go back and watch the classics. Don't just watch the stuff today. But she did a film called Gloria that they remade with Sharon Stone. But Cassavetes he created a whole style. And it's important for us as actors to recognize these directors, these auteurs that actually give us a chance to do what we do because they're so good at what they do. So I really highly recommend Cassavetes is definitely one of them. Like, really broke open the 70s in a lot of ways.
100%. The main thing about his work and the films that they did together, Minnie and Moskowitz, it doesn't feel like acting. It feels like you're watching two people really get drunk and spill their guts and really open their souls up to each other, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
So, and because I was playing a drunk in that, Woman Under the Influence was a big, influence. I even have like a moment where I'm like dancing, and I was like trying to like recall some of that moment from the film with Jenna. So I got really inspired by that whole experience, and also Lucas Haas. Being another child actor, we ran away to the circus at the same time, so we both had that kind of like.
Yeah, there's like a shorthand
spirit.
almost.
Yeah, that spirit where we're down. We're down to go and just go quickly. And kind of there's a trust. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but when you've just been banged around or you've been in it so long, it's easier to let down some guards and just get in there and play with somebody in the sandbox.
Yeah. Okay, just a couple more questions if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Okay, so I eventually the whole thing I want to lead up to is actually you just directed something, I believe recently, called, is it Warm Human Magic?
That's
is that right? And I read this beautiful thing that I thought was this great way to describe it. I don't know if you wrote this but I read it in an article, it's an anti-romantic comedy about a girl's desperate attempt for human connection and her inability to extricate herself from the technology that keeps her isolated.
Yeah. I wrote it. I wrote that log line with a little help from my sister Yvonne, who's a much better at commas and periods than I am. But yeah, we got there together.
But guys, if you don't hear that and think if that's not the best phrase about the day and age that we live in right now, the society that we live in, I bet right now you might be listening to this and scrolling through Instagram because it's not going to scroll itself. I mean, just how much we are slaves to these things. And I haven't even been able to see this film. Where can we see this film?
So it's playing right now in Madrid at the Madrid International Film Festival.
You're huge in Madrid.
I'm big in Madrid.
Huge in Madrid, yes.
They love me over there. Yeah. I don't know, it might get into more festivals, and eventually I'll put it out online. Either maybe, hopefully No Budge will take it, because I'm a big fan of what they're doing creatively, or I'll just put it out on YouTube,
Yeah, but you
the old-fashioned way.
You wrote and directed this.
I wrote and directed, and I chose not to act in it. I initially thought, I'm gonna act in it, but then I wanted just to focus on my shot list and just being free from the burden of acting, because acting is fucking hard. And if you care about what you do, you kill yourself for it a little bit. And I wanted just to be behind the camera and see what it felt like, and see if I could do it, because I wasn't sure. Although I've grown up on sets and I've watched a lot of amazing directors, like Curtis Hanson was an amazing director.
Rest in peace, yeah.
And I got to work with David Lynch. That was a huge
I was going to ask, because that was, I don't know, recently, because it was probably a couple years, but it just came out on Showtime.
1 year.
Well, no, I didn't know how long ago you filmed it.
I filmed it like 7 years ago. No,
yeah, you never know.
I filmed it in 2015. So
yeah,
3 years ago.
I was a huge fan of the original. I think a lot of you guys probably maybe are, hopefully, and it is. It's just David Lynch. It's the guy is magic, and
But anyways, back to the short film. Did you accomplish it? Did you do it?
Yeah.
Do you know are you happy with it?
Yes. Okay. So the first day, I literally was like shitting my pants, going, "What am I doing? What am I doing?
Full circle moment from when you pissed yourself in an audition. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Callback. That was very good, Ryan.
Thank you. Resume.
Yeah. It was awesome. I was really nervous. We had a rough start the first day. Our camera was missing a cable, and we literally lost like 3 hours off the top of the day. And I had spent so long on my shot list. I had written, 56, 57 shots, maybe almost 60. I don't know. I really was trying to
overdo it.
Really squeeze as much out of those 2 days as possible. But at the end of the first day, I felt like I really had been like, okay, we got some really good stuff. And I felt really strong about it. And also it helped a lot that I was working with actors who were fabulous, like Chasen Bauer, who is honestly a young Ryan Gosling. This kid is so fucking talented. I tell everybody to hire him. And Madeline Zima, who I just knew she could do all the different colors of the rainbow that I would have liked her to do, and that I could also neg her a little bit and poke her a little bit more than I would with another actor, because she's my sister and I won't ever lose her as a friend.
And Adrienne Barbeau was in that.
Yes, Adrienne Barbeau, but Adrienne signed on afterwards. So I was doing a film with Ray Weiss and John Patrick Amadori, and
Twin Peaks, Ray Weiss, you guys.
Yes, that's my third time I got to work with Ray Weiss, who's amazing. I love him so much. Everybody falls in love with Ray Weiss.
He's a nice guy.
He's such a nice guy.
He scares me so much.
He's so generous.
In the best way.
You would love him.
Yeah.
He's so fun, but also he's so generous, and he's so fucking good. He's just so good. You just watch him and you're like, you're amazing. It's like, and I finished the film, or I did a rough cut of the film. I was still editing it. I showed it to Adrienne on our lunch break, and I said, do you think you would want to do the voice of the mom?
Yeah, because you were working with her on another film.
Yeah, because I was working with her, and I was just like hustling, man. I was on that film and also like editing.
But isn't that great?
It was amazing.
Look back and you're like, I want to be busy like that all the time.
Dude, I know. It's like you do these things to see if it's possible for you to be able to accomplish that. And you realize you can. And the more you do, the more you can do. And when you're busy like that, it's like superhuman. It's so awesome. But she's like, I like it. And I was just so honored that she wanted to do it, because she's an incredible actress. I'm a fan of her and have been since probably Swamp Thing.
Yeah, it's like, guys, I don't even know if you like Swamp Thing. I know comic book films are huge right now, but back in the 80s, they weren't so much. And I think the early 80s, she did Swamp Thing, the film, and was the female lead in that. And I remember as a kid being really scared of that movie. So.
Yeah, but even recently on Sons of Anarchy, she's incredible. Just I love working with older actors. I love working with, not that she's older. She's just got so much experience, and
we carry all our stories around us.
Yeah.
So the camera picks up on all of those things.
Yeah.
It picks up on the weatheredness and what are behind our eyes from some weird alchemy. The camera picks up on all that. So it's just really fascinating. So you were happy with this. It turned out amazing. That's the other thing Leslie said in these notes was that. Oh my God, she's directing. Holy shit, she is going to be amazing in this. Can you imagine with her past work? I'm so, like, she writes notes to herself and stuff like that. And she was so jazzed. Are you going to continue to do that?
Yes, yeah. So we have another short film written. And me and my sisters have written a web series that we want to try to get some kind of a micro budget for, if somebody will be so generous. But yeah, I have another short film that's written based on Yvonne's.
You wrote it?
No, I adapted it from my sister's short story. Yvonne is an incredible writer, you guys. She wrote a novel when she was 16 that got her represented with one of the top Inkwell Management, one of the top literary managers in New York. And then it didn't find a publisher, but she wrote a manuscript by the time, a 400-page novel by the time that she was 16 years old. She's like a genius. And she just got represented at Gersh for her writing. She wrote a pilot that they were like, oh, this is really good. So she's amazing. She's a great writer. And so she wrote the short story that did get published. And so I was like, I reread it and I kept seeing it in my mind. So we have a location. We're not totally locked with the script yet, but that's the next attainable goal. And I want to be a little bit fancier with the camera stuff with that because I was very locked in with Warm Human Magic, especially as my first film. We had a camera that, again, I would choose a different camera and I would probably get like some kind of a steady cam so it could get some movement. We had everything was static shots, but still super happy with the way that it turned out. But the next one, I want to dive into some things that feel a little bit more surreal.
Do you write every day?
I mean, like a word every day.
That was my question. Do you write one word every day? Like,
it's very hard. I mean, like I'm working on 2 feature films that I'm writing right now and I put quote for people who can't see. I put quotations.
Guys, she
air
did
quotes.
quotation air quotes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have 50 pages of one and I have 20 pages of the other. But literally, it's hard to write half a page sometimes.
But do you have a process for that where you like I set an egg timer for 30 minutes and I go into my other room and I force myself to write? Do you have a process?
I need to do that. The egg timer is a great idea, Ryan.
No, I didn't know.
God damn, I never heard of this egg timer thing. That's the secret.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I'm very unstructured. I need to get a little bit more structure in my life for sure.
Okay, so wrapping up, what is on the horizon? We have this short film that hopefully we can direct people to go and watch this and support your directing career as well as your acting career. But is there anything? But guys, she came from an audition today. Like we had to reschedule this a couple hours because she got a last minute audition, like we all do yesterday, and had to reschedule this. I mean, so you're still just hitting the pavement every day.
Back to the drawing board. You know, what happens after this? I love when people are always like, what are you working on next? And I'm like, what the fuck are you working on next, brother? I mean, like, I am going back
Call
out.
my agent. That's what I'm working on next.
Yeah, exactly. I go back out to audition and some more rejection, some pants pulling down, and then leaving completely embarrassed and humiliated. So that's what I'll be working on, and hopefully writing more than one word a day. The egg timer. So, I mean, I think we're getting together a pretty good plan.
Yeah, this is perfect. Like hey guys, this is called collaboration, okay?
Yeah.
We've just written something right now.
Yes.
It's a little sketch. So do you think there'll ever be a day when you won't act?
The day that I'm dead. The day that
That's
I'm
awesome.
dead.
Not awesome. I don't, that's
It'll be a restful day.
She's gone, you guys.
She had enough. I don't know. Like I love it so much. I've got 30 years put in. I'm a lifer.
Yeah,
That's all
like
I can
this,
say.
you're.
I want to direct more. And directing, one thing about directing is that you're at the very beginning part of the storytelling creative process. And when you're an actor, you're at the very end and you're trying to be a puzzle piece that fits in. And as a director, you just feel so much more empowered. So I hope to keep doing that because it makes me feel good about myself. Like, whereas like auditioning and everything can really erode self-esteem. So anything, seriously.
No,
I'm
real. Laughing because I completely
funny because it's true.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm laughing at the shell of a person I am now because it's been all eroded. I mean,
you're not a shell of a person. You're still here. You've got a great beard. You're doing great.
Now she's bringing it all around.
Yeah,
she's calling back.
But no, really, the doing things that build the self-esteem back up, doing things that make the soul feel replenished. That I got this from Pammy even years and years ago. She used to volunteer at a soup kitchen in Santa Monica. She
get outside yourself.
Get out. Forget yourself. If you can't forget yourself in your art, forget yourself in service of others. There's so many things to be. I volunteered at a homeless shelter. I volunteer and I feed people. There are so many fabulous and easy things that you can get involved in. There's so much injustice in the world right now, and there's so many things that you can put your focus on. And hopefully, it doesn't grind you down more, but it inspires you to rise to the occasion. There's so many things to throw yourself into. So that's what I'm trying to do on top of continuing to hopefully make another film as a filmmaker and maybe act in it. I might give myself a role.
But like we are at such a weird time in this life right now and with everything going on. So it is especially a weird time to do what we do. And I think what we do is very important.
It is, but it feels meaningless a lot. Don't let the meaninglessness get you down because the specialness of anything can be ruined.
Well, but think about it though, when we even talk about like Cassavetes or Michael Keaton, like we light up, like it means something. Like that
it means a lot
something
to the spirit. The human spirit is really taking a beating right now. So we need to do things, every little thing you can do. You see a homeless guy on the street, give him $1, give him $1, have extra waters in your car, and
Yeah, it's been so hot in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
any little bit of kindness and goodness in the world right now is magnified and needs to be magnified. And whenever I see somebody doing something good, it can be just as much a chain reaction as that anger that can hit an audience and make everyone feel connected. The goodness, kindness, and joy can do the same thing, and it can't be forgotten right now because we need it. So,
I was going to ask you what your advice to young actors are, but I think you've actually given it because that's perfect. Guys, yeah, this has been so inspirational to me. I feel great walking away from this, so I hope you feel great getting out of your car and going to this audition that you're about to go on to. And if you're in the middle of this, hopefully you came back and listened to the rest of it, and it made you feel good. So, guys, you know where to find us, www.lesliekahn.com, or give us a call at 323-969-9900. Thank you so much for joining us.
thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
This was really fun.
Awesome. Thank you.